Nigeria begins rebasing her GDP in line with existing realities, but the masses continue to decry the untold economic hardships, as the daily experience of many Nigerians is that the lamentations of the rise in the cost of food and other items and a spiraling headline inflation over 34%. Well, the underfunding monologue for many is that of hunger and extreme poverty. But many experts have called for a strong database and privacy protection for proper national planning and growth. How strong is the nation's data protection? You're watching Arise Prime Time. I have with me here in the studio Victor Olatunji. He is the Chairman, National Data Protection Commission. Glad to have you, Victor. Vincent, sorry.
Thank you very much.
It's actually Vincent, and I said Victor. It's actually Vincent. Sorry
Thank
about
you for
that.
having me.
Yeah, let's start with you giving us a sense of what it means when we say rebased GDP. What do we really mean when we say rebased GDP?
I think the first thing for us to understand is the meaning of the GDP.
Okay.
That's the gross domestic
Product.
That is the aggregation of all domestic products in the country.
Yeah.
And every country, they try to look at what they are doing vis-a-vis what they brought to their country,
Yeah.
before they know the value of their own GDP. And this is usually used to measure even development, to say, okay,
Yes.
the GDP has grown from this level
Yeah.
to this level. And for any country that is making progress, you see that in the level of percentage of growth year in, year out. And looking at what has been happening within the last 16 months under the President Tinubu, in terms of a lot of initiatives, transformation in so many areas, we need to properly restructure our economy for us to face the reality that is on ground. And it's not only in Nigeria, it's everywhere, every part of the world. There's no point deceiving ourselves of living a kind of fake life, trying to cover up for some things, but we need to face the reality. Let us know where we are, then what are the challenges that we have, what do we need to move from where we are to where we want to be. You must have a clear vision, which Mr. President has clearly defined for the nation, where we want to go to, and that has been clearly stated in his 8 priority areas. And looking at a lot of things going on, in terms of growth and development, in terms of actual manufacturing, in terms of production, these are services. These are things that will bring together to measure your GDP. If you look at the service sector in Nigeria, which is mostly driven by digital technologies, a lot is happening. In fact, in the last 4-5 years, the contribution to the GDP is the ICT sector, digital economy sector, has the highest contribution to the GDP, ranging between 16 and 18%. And the target in the next few years, looking at the $1 trillion economy that Mr. President is pursuing, the target is to ensure that in the digital economy sector, our contribution to GDP is up to 20%. And you can now imagine if other sectors bring in theirs, have a vision with clear policies, strategic plan that we are pursuing, will definitely get better in the GDP.
Yeah, you talked about reality. The reality for Nigerians is that their standard of living is going low, very, very low, because the cost of living is very high. So you said, okay, let's know what GDP is first. Then I asked you, when you say rebase your GDP, what does that imply? Yeah, okay, just give us that, and then maybe you tag along.
The best thing is to look at actual production, what you are doing. You can't say where we are now in Nigeria is the same place that we were 2-3 years ago. There have been some movements.
Okay.
And looking at this movement, you need to aggregate what actually led to that movement as a country, as a nation, for you to look at what exactly are we doing, where exactly are we vis-a-vis our targets.
Okay, you're using 2019
Yeah.
instead of 2020. What informed this? Why use, you're rebasing. Yeah. Am I wrong? I learned you're using, instead of using the 2019, you're using 2010 for the rebasing.
Yeah, because if you look at between 2010, 2019 and 2020, a lot has changed. So many things. Just like leapfrogging. No, okay, the last 5 years you have not done this. Now you want to do it. What are the things that you need to put in place? These are things that you need to look at. And it depends on what you know that is happening in your country. That will largely guide you towards whatever you want to do.
I was discussing off camera with an economist yesterday, and I asked him, What advantage, if any, will this yield to the economy, GDP, and to the vast majority of Nigerians and the business community? The man, listen to you, he's selling akara or who is doing his SME business, he just wants to know, how does this benefit me, for crying out loud?
I think the first thing is for the international community to have trust in what you are doing as a country. To say, oh, this is where this country is. Then what do we need to do as a country to attract foreign direct investment, which can lead to job creation, which can stimulate growth, manufacturing, actual production, which will lead to growth in the economy. And no country can survive in isolation. Yeah. These are countries to work with. If your economy is not strong enough, if your GDP is not strong enough to attract people to come to your country to invest, nobody wants to come to you. So you need to look at the reality on ground, look at the things you need to put in place to be able to move forward and attract foreign direct investment to your country. And these are things that we'll stand to get. Another man on the street, if you are buying, just about a few weeks ago, the price of petroleum that went up came down to about 800 at the point. Now I heard that's gone up again. So it's going to fluctuate like that until we now get to the real equilibrium.
Those are the two reforms that has set Nigeria, the demand there backwards, the petroleum, the floating of the naira.
These are things that we have to do now. If we don't do it now, we're just postponing the evil days. And generations unborn will not forgive all of us.
Previous rebasing positioned Nigeria as the largest economy in Africa.
Yes.
Now, Nigeria is the fourth, behind South Africa, Egypt, etc. What will now happen when we rebase?
Yeah, we'll know where we are. If we are still leading, or we move forward, or move backwards. That is what we're going to do, which will be obvious to everybody.
I'm still trying to find out. We know, in real terms, when we do rebase, you just said we know where we are in terms of Nigeria was when we did a rebasing before we were first, but now we are fourth. Try to explain, if I can understand, or if the manager can understand.
There are some parameters.
How will this determine where we are?
There are some parameters that you need to look at in your economy. Production, which is really important, which has really mentioned. What exactly are we producing? Some years back, you had a lot of manufacturing companies. There was this joke circulating on the social media that at Ibadan alone, you had ISO glass, you had Excel battery. In Lagos, you have Michelin, that you could actually produce a car in.
And then the textile industry.
Textile industry, all
big,
over Ikeja, Kaduna, Adoekiti, all over everywhere. And that, to a large extent, affected our GDP, encouraged the level we were then. Now that all this disappeared over time, what do you need to do to bring them back? And that is what is happening in the reform that Mr. President is carrying out. And that is now where we are now. What have you done to get here? Then where we want to go, what do you need to put in place to move forward? And that is what is happening now.
Okay, if talk to us about availability of data and relevance to this rebasing, how will this impact on the digital economic activities, the emerging sectors, and social programs?
Not in planning policies or in any economy, government is there to give the policy direction, to create an enabling environment for growth and development through laws, through regulations, through frameworks, guidelines, and so on that government will put in place and now monitor to stimulate growth in different sectors. If you have these policies and you want to develop a strategy roadmap or your blueprint, you don't have accurate data. There's no way you can plan. For instance, if you are saying we are 220 million people, and we are planning infrastructures, we are building infrastructure for 250 million people. I mean, I discovered that we're up to 300 million. That planning has failed already. And that is why data is very important. But in our case, what we are actually talking about is personal data.
Personal data.
But, yeah, data of individual. Your data, not my data. Because no matter what you do in terms of socio-economic activities, interactions, socials, and everything, the most important thing, which is the foundation, which we are changing on a daily basis, is our personal data. In terms of your name, your telephone number, your bank account details, your passport number, your house address, even your biometric information, your health information, which are even sensitive. These are the things that we use to drive digital economy. That's the foundation for digital economy to survive. Now,
And
the need to now protect this personal information is key in any economy across the globe. And that's why the whole world is now focusing on putting in place measures to protect personal information, personal data of citizens. And that is why the Nigerian government has gone ahead now to have a law, a data protection law, that has enforceable human rights, data subject rights. And the signal to the world is that in Nigeria you have a law that can guarantee your rights as it is as a data subject. And to large extent, anybody that's coming here, oh, they have a data protection law. I think they're serious. I think I can share my data with them. Cross-border transfer data in a lot of places. The safeguard that were put in place, the law is there. The second thing is to have an independent data protection authority. There is one thing for you to have the law. It's a completely different thing for you to be able to implement the law and enforce the law. For instance, what we have in our constitution is that the privacy of an average Nigerian is guaranteed. Section 39, Section 37 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. That is just a statement. How do we now guarantee that privacy? That is what we have done by having Mr. President signing the Nigeria Data Protection Bill to an act of Parliament on the 12th of June 2023, establishing the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. And in the act, it is we have rights of data subjects that are properly enshrined in it. Now, in terms of cross-border transfer of data, international businesses, people want to come and do business in Nigeria, they want to set up companies and so. Is there anything that can protect their citizens?
And that will lead me to just ask you as you continue, how strong would you say our data protection is? I mean, let me just add that.
It's getting better. We are not there yet, but we are moving. There's traction, and that's the most important thing. For instance, when we started as a bureau, the level of compliance in the public sector to the data protection law was just 4%. As we speak, we are doing
4%.
Yeah, as we speak, we are doing over 25% because of the fact that now we have a law, we have an institution driving it, and we are collaborating with a lot of organizations, both in the public and private sector.
What do you want to get to? Is there any country that has 100%? What do you want to go to? 25%?
No,
that is still...
by the time it becomes the culture, you see it as waking up in the morning and having your bath before you go out of the house. It's not a culture. It's something they're used to. To get a level that protecting personal information of Nigerians by data controllers and data processors becomes a culture. You want to register a business, it's one of the criteria that, oh, do you have a privacy policy? It is part of the requirement. Or you are coming to my office as a vendor.
A privacy policy?
Yes.
From the one registering a company?
Yes. Your company now, you want to do ABCD, which will require the collection and processing of personal data. Do you have a privacy policy that will declare who you are, what you do, the kind of information you collect, and how you process it, and what safeguards are you putting in place to process such data? What it does is to create trust and confidence in our economy in Nigeria.
Who will put the safeguards? Myself?
The safeguards are in the law, signed by President Tinubu. The safeguards are the Nigeria Data Protection Law. That is, for you, as a data controller, as a data processor, these are the things you must put in place in terms of technical measures.
Okay. Speaking
to your database, the kind of solution you are deploying, the security measures that are put in place, and looking at the organizational measure, that in terms of your capacity to even collect and process data, your data processing activities, the people who work in the office, what knowledge of data protection do they have, and what kind of guidelines, regulation, policy that you put in place. These are issues that you need to put in as a company to ensure that here you actually practicing data protection. And the good thing there is that if you now share your data with such organizations, you feel you have a bit of comfort that, oh, they put in place enough measure to protect my data. Now you want to sit there, you want to do business in other countries. Do you know the type of safeguard that such countries have? And that is why the issue of adequacy comes in. That is, before you move the data of an every Nigerian training country, we, the Nigerian Data Protection Commission, will determine the level of adequacy they have, the safeguard that we put in place, which speaks to the enforceable data subject right, which I mentioned, having an independent data protection authority, and in case of any issues, where do you go for recourse?
Let me get back to rebasing. We'll probably get back to data protection. Talk to us how this rebasing will affect tax to GDP and debt to GDP ratio. How?
Yeah, if we are rebasing, like I said before, all these tax
Tax to GDP, debt to GDP
yes,
ratio.
all these things are some of the things that we need to really consider to look at. Okay, what is the effect of taxes on the GDP? What is the effect of other things
Debt,
on the
yeah.
GDP? It's like you have several parameters that you need to really evaluate before you can rebase. And because if you don't apply these parameters, you can't really get any accurate GDP.
Yeah.
And don't forget that we benchmark what we do here in terms of rebasing to other countries. So there are standard global criteria that we need to use in rebasing the economy. We won't live in isolation. We are not living as a country that is not interacting with other countries. So there are well-recognized and acceptable global standards that we have to apply for us to be able to
Well,
get it.
the NBS says, from what I have here, the NBS is saying that some sectors of the economy have experienced significant growth at a time businesses are leaving, some diversifying, and some are, weighed down, Which sectors really are?
Yeah, it's true. The world we live in is a digital village, global digital village. Now, before you can actually play in this sector, you need to understand some things and retool and reskill. From the World Economic Forum, it has been estimated that by 2030, about 92 jobs.
2030?
Yes,
Okay.
about 92 million jobs will become obsolete. The next 5 years, this your studio will become obsolete because of the advancement in technologies. Now, if you still want to sit down, you don't want to retool, you don't want to reskill, will you be able to practice in the new digital economy? The answer is no. But the good news is that also within the same period, there is going to be the creation of additional 170 million new jobs, and mostly in the digital technology sector. So people who are analog, who are not ready to move, they will definitely lose their jobs. Whereas those who are in the digital economy sector, they will definitely have jobs too. And even in Europe, for instance, looking at the data privacy part, Europe, 94% of companies lack requisite skills in the area of data privacy. And that is why a lot of them run into problems. And it's even more than that in Nigeria. And that is why we need to move the global trend to ensure that we move the advancement in technologies, build skills, build people, and we already do a lot in that area in Nigeria. For instance, under the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, there's a 3MTT program. Under the
3MTT.
Where people are being trained to acquire skills to be able to work in different areas. What is really driving our economy, where we've seen tremendous growth in the service sector.
The what?
Service sector, service economy, where you offer services. For instance, people don't believe in physical offices anymore. We have part of the outcome of COVID too. You can actually sit in your home and offer services to a lot of organizations, right from your bedroom. And you are making your money. You can even be here and offer services to companies outside the country. There has been tremendous growth in that service sector. Because of what? Because of the level of advancement in digital technologies in Nigeria. And that is one key sector that has really grown. For instance, if you are now a teacher or a university lecturer, you don't even know how to use PowerPoint, which is already becoming outdated. You don't even use technology to do your research. You can't be relevant anymore. But the more you know about what is going on, now we are talking about emerging technologies, we are talking about blockchain, we are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about Internet of Things. These are the things that are taking over the way we offer services all over the world. And that is why, because we have a very youthful population, about 65% of our population belong to youth group, and these guys are tech savvy. They understand technology. That's the only language you understand. And that's why we see a lot of them, very young guys, they're already in money because of the kind of skill that they've acquired. Now you have about content creation, which was very obsolete when we were growing up. If you say content, who will talk about content creation? Because people don't understand. And these guys are making serious money now. And these are through the skill they'll be able to acquire through digital technologies. So this is one sector that really contributes a lot. Telecoms. Look at the telecom sector in Nigeria, which is good. And just last week, Nigeria just entered an MOU with some companies in the US to spend about $2 billion in laying fibers all over Nigeria, 90,000 kilometers of fibers.
Yeah, boss, we are saying we need that when I discussed.
We are saying we need about 135,000 kilometers of fiber. What we have is just about 30,000. So we still need to bridge that gap. You can imagine that investment coming to Nigeria. You can imagine what we do to even for those who dig where they're going to lay to fiber. You can imagine what we do. Economies along that line, villages and so on. You can imagine that what we do. Now we talk of actual, you say because of availability of bandwidth now, which is huge, and the crowd price to come now. When you have more people bring on. You're talking of volume now. You have people coming in, so you're making more money. Even the telcos are making more money. So there has been tremendous growth in that area. Even in the area of agri, we now hear deployment of technological tools for agri in Nigeria. These are things that are already happening, and I'm sure in the next 5 years we will be saying the same story.
Just in maybe under less than a minute or so, in which areas are Nigerians mostly vulnerable when it comes to data protection?
Data protection is a two-way thing. As a data subject, that is you and I, what am I putting in place to protect my personal data? You just go online, you say stuff, you click. You don't even read the privacy policy. You have exposed yourself. But because of your awareness, you now know that, oh, I need to read their privacy statement thoroughly to know what they want to do with my data. Before you click, you have protected yourself. That is one of the data subjects. Now, the part of the data controllers and processors, those who collect your data and process, what measures have they put in place? And that is what we are here to do, to ensure that they put in place appropriate measures to ensure that your data is protected with them. So it's a two-way thing. If on data or on the part of the data subject, you are very conscious of the way you click. A lot of people go and borrow money from these digital lending companies without even reading their policies. Oh, free money, 20,000, let me just click. The moment they give you that one, you pay back, they double it for you. And you keep doing it. Before you know, you're already in debt. You want to go to another one to go and borrow again. Because you don't know the implication, the privacy implication. And whereas some of them will tell you, in their privacy policy, they've asked that just in case defaults, they should have access to your contacts. And without even reading, you say yes. You say yes. So it's your fault as data, so you just accept. And if anybody is collecting your data for any purpose, you have the right. Why do you want to collect my data? For what purpose? This data you're collecting, I don't think you even need it. These are the basic things I think you need, which I want to give you. Then the part of data control and processor, what measures are they put in place to secure the data, their database? So it's a two-way thing. Yeah, and that is why awareness is really important for all of us to know. Your data subject, you need to know your rights. You need to know what you need to do. And the obligation that data controller and processors owe, accountability, they should be held accountable for any data in their possession.
I'll leave it there. Vincent Olatunji, Chairman, National Data Protection Commission, thank you for your time.
Thank you
on Arise Prime Time. Well, that's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thank you for watching.